Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Story Darlings podcast. I'm Sandra.
I'm Tara.
And I'm Jess.
Woohoo! What are we talking about today, Jess?
We're talking about Onyx Storm! Yay!
And these lovely ladies have the actual book, but I did audio because I didn't get the book in time, apparently.
So it sounds like there were a lot of issues with like shipped copies. I didn't even bother to do like a pre-order. I don't trust Amazon anymore because I did like 6 pre-orders last year and only like 2 of them showed up on time.
Well,
So
when I went to the stores, there were no books here, so I'm having Sandra ship me her extra one.
Yes, I was the crazy in line.
Because there was a lot of apparently want for this book, which is wonderful, but also bad for those people that did not get the book.
Yeah, I got onto Target's website at like midnight and did a pre-order for pickup at my local Target, and that was the only way. And I thought I was getting the Target exclusive copy, and I was not. I just got the like deluxe version, which I was like a little disappointed because I wanted the color map mostly, but still, I had it, so I was happy.
So much drama around these books always.
People are selling those Target ones for like $100 and something right now.
No,
I'm like, I should have bought a lot of those where I could just like make some money off.
Apparently, there were only like 40 copies in the stores. I know when Taylor and I went, right when Target opened here, we parked 801. We're looking at the faces of women walking out of Target, okay? They just opened, and they're coming out empty-handed and looking despondent, okay?
Aww.
I was like, no, we already missed it. And then we get back there. They're sold out of everything. Deluxe editions, Target exclusives, and the standard copy.
That's wild. Yeah. I was prepared because there's not a Barnes & Noble like in my town. So we have to go to like, it's like 20 to 30 minutes away. So it's not far. But I was like, if Target has it, then I don't have to drive. And it was snowing here. Like it was cold. I did not want to go anywhere, but I did.
I even looked again yesterday, hoping that maybe there was like a restock or something. Still nothing. No books anywhere in my town.
Nothing
I went to
you.
multiple Targets, multiple Walmarts, Barnes & Nobles. Nothing.
Bad for us, but good for Rebecca, you know?
I know.
Like, I'm happy
She's
for
the real
her.
winner here.
Yes. And I'm happy for like just the genre because this and Sarah J. Maas are making it more prevalent and more people are picking up that probably weren't diehard genre fans.
Well, and like shout out to Brandon Sanderson for telling fantasy readers to stop gatekeeping the genre and like let romantasy readers in, because I'm just so excited that people are getting excited about dragons now that we're all in like our 30s and 40s.
Yes. When I was standing in line for Barnes & Noble to open after having no luck at Target, the people behind us waiting for the store to open, they were Brandon Sanderson readers. They were guys, right? So they were just wanting to come in and get a copy of Wind and Truth. And he was just like, oh, all these people are they're romantasy readers. They're here for Fourth Wing, and just trying to talk about like the difference between Brandon Sanderson's books and romantasy. And I'm just like, did you not listen to his speech? Let's not act like one is better than the other. These are both very different things.
Not to mention that like Brandon Sanderson is incorporating a lot more romance into his novels. So
they're basically reading it. Anyway.
I mean, he doesn't do spice. He doesn't do full-on spice scenes, which makes total sense to me. But he, like, there's a lot of romance. Especially as I did I did a full Cosmere reread last year. And, like, the amount of romance in every single one of those books was, like, more than is normal, I think, for fantasy novels. So I was here for it, but...
I like hearing that after just reading the first book. I did notice there was some in there. I'm like, is there going to be more of this? I like it. He's not bad.
Yeah. And like I went out and I bought Onyx Storm on release day. I bought 4 copies of Wind and Truth on Wind and Truth's release day. So like, you know, I mean, they weren't all for
that
me.
book is like this, okay? It's like a thick. You kill a chihuahua with it.
Are they different, or is it just all the same book?
Me.
You were just
I went out and picked up a couple copies for some friends because I took the day off and they didn't.
I would have, if I'd found these, bought one of every like kind
version
out there. Out there. Sandra like threw me off with her little trying to catch every version of them, because there are so many pretty versions. I love that we're getting new book covers in a lot of these that are gorgeous.
Options.
Yes, I'm excited.
Not options, Sandra. Necessary now, because they're so pretty.
Excuse me.
It's not options anymore. I have to now buy 4 different copies of the same book. So I was wondering if that's what you did, Jess. Like there were 4 different like versions.
No. He always does like an initial release, and then he does like leatherbounds come out on like the 10th anniversary, and there's always like some like special edition versions that he sells, and we do have those for all of his books that are available, but No, it was the same copy 4 times. I just bought
Oh.
some for some friends.
Well, that was nice of you.
Mhm.
Sandra was my savior on the
Very
Onyx Storm
happenstance,
by
yeah.
buying extras.
Which I normally typically just do not do. But how do we feel after reading Onyx Storm?
So
Confused.
A
I
lot
was
of people.
confused a lot
Yeah.
though because I did not do a reread of the other 2 first, and I'm like, "Wait, what happened? Who are these people? What's going on?"
yeah, a
So,
lot of people did that, didn't do a reread. I actually didn't start Onyx Storm until, like, noon on Tuesday because I was finishing my Iron Flame reread because I didn't manage my time as wisely as I thought I would. But so it's funny because I've found that how I feel about this book almost depends on who I'm talking to about it, because there were some parts that I was not a fan of, and then there were a lot of parts that I, like, loved, right? So,
mm,
but
we're gonna have
full
some hot
disclosure,
takes in this,
yeah.
apparently.
Full
Mhm.
disclosure, a lot of them are just like my personal like reading style. I think Rebecca Yarros did a phenomenal job. The book is more than we could have probably asked for based off of like, you know, what was happening, but I don't like cliffhangers and I don't like feeling hopeless and
Okay,
so
so
Maybe
you
we can give you some
mentioned
hope. Yeah.
that what was going on, and I wanna know if it's what you were talking about are her health things. Is that what you were mentioning could have
oh,
asked for?
no, I just mean like in the book, the content. Like
Oh, okay.
there were a lot of moments that I didn't I didn't think we were gonna get and we got. Like,
Mhm.
we got a new character that I was just, like, super excited to have exist, even though, like, obviously not a great character. But, like,
Mhm.
there's there's content that, like, I was here for it and I was ready,
So
so
Mhm.
So Sandra told me this the other day. It made so much sense, and I love that this was a part of Rebecca's, like, thought pattern, but Violet and her pain that she experiences and her, like, super mobility, like, issues and stuff, that is a condition that Rebecca has, and it's super neat, not that she has that, but that she is putting her kind of autobiographical experiences in through Violet, because it sounds a lot like what my daughter has, and just, like, seeing that she can still be
Badass
everything that
bitch.
Violet is in this book
Yeah.
while also struggling through
yeah. No, and,
that.
like, she does a really good job of that in Fourth Wing, which I know we're talking about Onyx Storm and not Fourth Wing,
Mhm,
but in Fourth Wing, like, her mom talks about how, like, Violet deals with more pain on a regular day than,
mhm.
like, the average person does in their lifetime, and that it, like, made Violet strong in a way that normal people can't fathom.
Yeah,
So, that concept right away spoke to me in this series, and I really like that she keeps, like, bringing it back.
mhm.
So,
Like, even in this book, it's kind of mentioned when she is having some rather tough moments that she experiences pain all the time anyway, so what is a little bit more kind of thing, and it's like a superpower.
That representation is so cool.
Also brings me to the little dedication
Dedication.
page where it talks about, like, just, you know, that representation, and here we go.
Love that page. To me, this felt like a mid-series because it is planned to be 5 books right now.
mhm, yep.
I think it
Mhm.
wasn't originally gonna be 6 books? I thought I had heard, like, it was supposed to be 6 books originally, but now it's, like, pretty set that it's gonna be 5.
I don't know.
Maybe
But
she
I
gave us
could
more in
see
this
it.
book than she was
I
anticipating.
mean, maybe the way just the pace that she has been writing the
Mhm.
last few years, I mean, she can take 2 to 3 breaks, like 2 to 3 years a break, I don't care. Like, I will wait however long it takes for her to write the story the right way and not just
I
keep
mean,
reading
I would
reading
like it to
this
be
book.
tomorrow, but
I was gonna say, "Shush, Sandra."
yeah, don't give her any ideas, but she writes really, like, the way she wrote this one, it was worth the wait, I think
This
Yeah.
is
book was a masterpiece to me, especially being right smack dab in the middle. Just the things that were answered, that were teased and sprinkled in the
Mhm,
first book, that became fact in this book. And then I have a huge hunch what the fourth book is going to be set in, and
mhm.
I'm so ready for this kind of fantasy book. So, but we can talk
I
more about it.
I am with Jess, though. In general, I hate cliffhangers. I don't I am not a good waiter. I've mentioned this multiple times. I do not like to wait. I want my answers, even if they're spoilers, I will look them up because I want my answers now.
The
Um,
the only reason I read this book now is because the internet is terrible about spoilers, and I wanted to be able to experience it, but otherwise, like and Rebecca Yarros has claimed that she loves cliffhangers, so we're gonna get another one in book 4, and I have
mhm.
accepted that, and I'm just gonna suffer through it, but, like, I don't personally like them.
I don't like them in general, but with the way that we know we get answers Otherwise, I do like the spider web of, like, finding
Mhm.
out your full answer in little bitty spurts, you know?
Yes.
It's woven in to everything else, and I do like that bigger picture, not just like, "Okay, here's your answer," and it's a small little, like, piece, and you're done. Like, I want the bigger, like, I want the weave it into everything else and give me a I don't know what I'm trying to say, but, like
I like when all of those little pieces fall together.
Mhm.
That moment, I
Yeah.
crave that moment, and that I can tell that's gonna continue happening in this series. And just the things like Jack Barlow giving Violet grief in book 1 whenever they were in battle brief and they were talking about how did they know that these wards were falling, and Jack Barlow gave Violet shit and was like, "Oh, what are you talking about precognition, blah, 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 like, that's a thing, you're a dumbass," essentially. And then that became a major thing in this book, and then all of the mentions of the Emerald Sea and Grady getting Jacinia a book of the Emerald Sea, which is where I think this 4th book is gonna be like a high fantasy sea adventure type of thing.
Not to
Like
mention Colonel Daxton in the scribe quadrant.
yes, yes. Papa Sorengale.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's so cool how those pieces fell into place. Even the romance, the banter, the friendships in this book, everything was just making me laugh. I cried in this book. There was like an Andarna scene toward the end where I got very emotional and started crying.
I
Just I
cried my way
And
through this entire
Darna
book.
and Darna has me, like, in a chokehold.
Yeah.
She's great.
She is, like, I don't know, a little puppy to me, you know, like a little baby puppy, and I'm like, "You better
Mhm.
leave her alone.
Yeah.
You hurt Andarna, and we're gonna have problems here."
What did we think of her reveal?
Re
Andarna's? Do we wanna say, "Okay, this is the end of the spoiler-free
I
section, so if
mean,
you have not read this book"
I'm gonna make it explicitly clear before this video even plays, there's going to be spoilers from the
Okay,
Yeah.
get-go, so we're
okay.
good.
Well, this
We
is the
can't
end of the
hold it back, you
spoiler-free
know?
section, guys, so here we
We've been
go.
holding it back for days now, we're just gonna talk about
Yeah,
it.
they've been
Some
waiting
of
on
us
me because I didn't start until Thursday on
some of
this
us
book.
finished on Wednesday and we're like,
Hurry up, Tara.
I was like, "Damn, Jesse, slow down." 1
And
minute you're
Jessie
reading
didn't even
Iron
start until
Flame, and I'm
Tuesday,
like,
as she
"I
said at
know."
noon.
look,
I felt like I
I
was doing good on starting it on Thursday and being done yesterday, but
I have a
apparently
problem.
I'm not as speedy as Jessie.
Yeah, Jesse is the
Nobody is. It's
fastest.
fine. It's a problem. I'm not even like that fast of a reader. I'm just an obsessive reader. Like we can't talk about the fact that I like didn't eat and didn't sleep for those 48 hours. It
Shower
was
function.
Well,
Love
I'm
my
it.
glad that
husband
we're
came
past
home and
that
he was
then.
like, "Have you moved?" And I was like, "No."
Uh,
But
I
no.
loved Andarna's reveal.
yes.
Okay, so which reveal are we talking about? Because there were a couple of things with Andarna that
Like, what she is.
Yeah.
the whole
Like, we
Irid
figured out,
thing,
like, what she was, like, what kind of dragon.
that she comes from a
Um,
line of pacifists.
and then we found out, like you said, we found out what those kind of dragons were and
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
those kind of dragons could do and also what they were supposed to do, which
Mhm.
Andarna does not do.
Yes. And Darna was
Is
I loved that Violet called it out though, because like they set her up to fail. They were
Mhm.
like, "You were supposed to represent us and prove to us that humans and the other dragons are more peaceful now." And it was like, how was she supposed to know that? She was in an egg for all of that time. Like,
Well, and
but
how is she supposed to do anything about it as a baby?
yeah.
Like, the
Like,
other ones are just gonna follow her lead? As a baby, they didn't follow your lead as full-grown ass whole coven of dragons, but yet they're supposed to follow this little bitty baby's lead.
On the topic of her hatching and being, existing, I did like how that was answered for us on why she waited to hatch so many centuries, right? Because this book repeatedly states magic has to have a balance. There's always a counterpart to it. And she was waiting all this time for Violet to be born because I think the big bad in this series is someone like Violet that is power. Like that is
mhm.
their signet is power.
So I don't know about that because I'm gonna mispronounce her name. Theophene?
Mhm. The Maven?
Theophany.
Yeah, she specifically says that violence couple centuries somebody comes in that tips the scale of power, and Violet is that tipping point. So she gets to basically she's going to be what decides between good and evil. So there's a balance for Xaden. He's now on the Venom side, so they have what was his name? Was it like Lynx or Lennox?
Mhm.
Lynx.
Somebody got shadow power on
Like,
from
towards the
Violet's
end.
squad
Mhm.
to balance Xaden. We had Theophene, who was uh, Mama
The balance.
Sorengale's balance. There's it doesn't seem like there's any sort of balance for Violet. So that tells me that there's a Melgrin on their side. There's an Eric on their side, but not a Violet. And I'm real curious what
Which
that's gonna
part
look
of
like.
which part of Violet though, right? Because we find out her second signet is the dream walking, and they have a dream walker. I think that's quite clear from second book, right? Them constantly entering Zayden's dreams, and Violet has no idea she's been dream walking into Zayden's
Mhm.
head this whole time. So there is that counterpart to her. But who
Or
is the
maybe
big
it's
bad?
like
Like who could possibly be
Well,
or maybe
this
it's
Theophane
big?
the
says he's waiting for you, and Violet asks if she means the other male maven, and she was like, "No, I'd never answer to that pathetic weakling." So we know that there is a male big bad that we haven't met yet.
Who do we think it is?
I don't know.
I don't think the big bad is the sage character who do we agree that it's
mm-mm.
Nowlin, Brennan's old love that saved him?
Oh, no, I don't think it would be him because Taryn would know. Though Taryn, every time he comes up, Taryn's like, "We do not speak of the one that came before,"
And he
and
does the same he has the same attitude towards Xaden now.
that's
Like, he
true.
doesn't like her
Dark
talking
one.
about Xaden or, like, doesn't like Xaden, doesn't like that she's still connected to Xaden.
That is an interesting theory that I hadn't considered. That would be wild because he was a siphon as uh
And and we lost him as a siphon, and we gained Sloane as a siphon,
Mhm.
so maybe he's the bad side siphon, and that's why Sloane had to be a siphon.
not to mention we know that how he quote unquote died was because
He was
he was
saving
saving
Brennan.
Brennan's life and Brennan lived. Everyone thought that he had failed and both riders died, but if he succeeded because he called on the power of the earth to
Mhm.
save Brennan. Also, I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like was something like romantic was going on between him and Brennan before.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Like, they were together. They were together.
Like
Yeah.
Violet has talked about how like she wonders if Brennan has somebody, but like they've never had that conversation.
It's
But
him.
yeah. So that will be heart wrenching for Brennan if that's the
Un
case.
Unless, which I'm hoping we do, because obviously it's gonna be horrible for us if we don't figure out how to cure the venom, right? Because Xaden is sliding down the wrong path here, and if we don't figure out how to save Xaden, we're going to revolt,
So
Rebecca, so, like,
so this is
come
what
on.
I mean by I needed some hope. I didn't like the fact that like the cliffhanger of Iron Flame was they needed to find this cure, and in book 3 they just didn't find the cure. There was a theory floating around on the internet. Again, don't go on threads if you haven't finished Onyx Storm because like
Mm-mm.
spoiler palooza over there, but there's a theory out there that the cure is on the island they didn't go to that worships the god of love.
See, that would make sense too, because I think it has something to do with love is the cure itself.
Well, specifically
That's
because
my
Zayden.
theory the whole book because of the way they were talking about him, and the only times that he goes further is to save the person that he loves the most, and the only times he pulls himself back is to save the one he loves the most, right? And so I think that there is something like he's gonna have to give up something to save her, and that is gonna be like true love's kiss in the Disney movies, and it's gonna like make everything better. And that is why I'm hopeful that maybe we can save Nolan
Mhm.
because he's in love with Brennan and Brennan's in love with him, and that is going to be the secondary like savior cure thing that we find, which is why I'm thinking like it'll be okay for Brennan, hopefully, because we are going to figure out that love is what's going to help this cure.
Didn't Theophany kind of tell us something that like the
He said she
cure?
knows the cure. She said that she knows the answers that Violet's looking for, and if Violet turns, then she'll tell her. But
Because
And
Violet said, "Don't you ever wish like, don't you ever miss the temple?" And she said, "Oh, I can't go back to the temple because that would negate everything that I have become."
Mhm.
Like, what temple is this?
Well,
Are we
she's a
talking about
Dune.
Dune?
She's a
Yeah.
yep,
Dune. And wait, what is Dune the like
God of
goddess of
War,
or
I think.
war?
Strength and war.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it was the stone dagger from the Temple of Dune that
Yes, that
killed
that
her.
so let's okay, we're getting into it now.
That's a really big spoiler because that's at the end of the book. Okay,
Yeah.
guys.
We need to talk about the end of the book because I've been dying to discuss this for literal days. It's a question that's on everybody's mind. Who was Zayden talking about? Who was the traitor?
I have
Who
my vote.
watched him? Who watched him? I have
Well,
3
I don't think it's
theories.
necessarily a traitor.
I agree with you. Wholeheartedly, I agree with you. I
Like,
don't
I
think the
don't think
person's
that
actually a traitor, but who do we think turned
I don't
after
think
watching Vaden or after watching Zayden turn?
I don't think that this person, in my opinion, is the one that has been feeding clues the whole time. I think somebody turned, much like Xaden did, trying to save somebody.
Yeah. No, me too. Because we know Pancheck is the one who's been giving them the information.
I have an opinion on who I think it is, and I have an opinion on who I want it to be.
Okay.
Give
me
who
both,
I would be
Tara.
more comfortable with it being. I think it's Garrick.
Okay.
It's either Garrick or Bodhi.
Garrick and Bodhi are two of my 3 theories.
Okay, so I think it might be Bodhi because the very end scene we see that Xaden married Violet and made her the Duchess. And so in my opinion, it might be Bodhi because if both Xaden and Bodhi are Venin, they have no ruler, right? And so Violet had to be the ruler. And I'm more comfortable with Bodhi being the one, which makes it sound bad, because I love Garrick and I don't want him to be that person, right? Like he was against that the entire book.
Sure.
Right? He was telling Violet to like guard herself against Xaden. So I don't want that for him, but I think it might be him because I think we might have seen when he turned to save Imogen.
I think so too.
I think we might have seen him pulling on power that he didn't have because he'd already burnt out.
Sandra, what do you think?
My vote is I'm like 98% sure here that it's Bodhi.
Okay, good, because I don't want it to be Garrick.
Why are you so sure it's Bodhi?
Mainly because all of the foreshadowing throughout the book, right? How many times did she compare Bodhi to Xaden and Bodhi railing against, I don't want to follow in your, like, I don't want to be the heir to Tyrandor. I don't want to do this. I don't want to keep attending Vizgayeth. I want to help more. You never bring me along with you. You just leave me behind. I think at one point he talked about the wording was used that he is like Xaden's shadow. So wherever Xaden goes, he goes. So I do think it was Bodhi. And we saw where Bodhi was
kneeling,
like vomiting or retching toward the end, but I don't think that's what he was doing, judging by the state of his dragon. Yeah.
But we also saw a lot of foreshadowing with them over and over and over saying, we need a ruler. We need a ruler. You have to be here. You have to be here for it, for the book to end on her becoming the ruler, basically.
Can we talk more about that? Because Xaden was planning the whole damn time to propose to her.
Okay, here we go. Because it wasn't just Xaden.
Well, and he kind of did.
He did several times. He was like, girlfriend's not permanent enough. She's my consort. He was like, yeah, you can make up the marriage proposal right now. It's Sorengale with 2 R's. Like,
yeah, like wink, nudge, nudge. Like he didn't just kind of. He did it.
Not to mention that Eric also knew, because Eric and Xaden were going back and forth about how Violet's little speech during the whole writers thing was like powerful enough to be a monarch or even a duchess. Well, like, but Eric was in on it. So
was he in on it, or was he using his precog powers? Did he just foresee the future? And
one of the two, Tara.
Become a ruler.
One of the two. So here are my 3 theories. The first one is that it's Garrick. Garrick feels like the most obvious choice because Bodhi told Violet when they were facing Theophane together that Garrick was already burnt out. And then we see him showing up with Imogen. Imogen's not missing, Garrick is. And he says, I have to figure out a way to keep helping. I can't. And he like walks away. So Garrick is the most obvious choice based on the clues. However, I think he's too obvious of a choice. So I don't think it's going to be Garrick. Bodhi is the second obvious choice because he was not mentioned at all in that last scene. Like you guys said, Violet was the Duchess. I also kind of feel like what could have happened was Xaden and told Bodhi that Violet was going to be the Duchess and he has to be there to like show her the ropes. And also there was a possibility that Xaden was like doing that kind of gross sacrificial thing of like, if I can't be there to take care of Violet, you need to be there to take care of Violet. There was some theories going around that Bodhi's in love with Violet because he like didn't want to leave her side. I did go back and reread that scene and I don't feel like that's the case, but he was super protective of Violet and like wanted to stay with her when his dragon like had to carry him off the field without his consent and stuff. So I think Xaden looks at Bodhi and like as they were leaving and he says, remember your promise. And Bodhi was like, I don't want your province. And Xaden said, noted. So like that's supposed to make us think that Bodhi's the one who he's saying, remember your promise. But I think the promise was to make it Violet. And Bodhi was like, yeah, I'm going to make it Violet because I don't want your province.
But okay, so the other thing that gets me is Xaden calls him my new brother.
And so has Garrick. He specifically calls out that Garrick and Bodhi are both like brothers. So I don't know that it's either of them. My third kind of unhinged theory is that it's Eric. Because
Okay, I don't want that either. I want Bodhi because I don't want it to be Eric because
no, hold on, Tara. Because the reason I think it might be Eric is because there's a scene where she specifically sees Eric on a dragon flying southward, and she was like, "What is he doing? He better not get himself killed." And then she had to immediately, and Taryn was like, "He's not getting near the fighting," and it's cool. So either Eric turned Venom, or he didn't turn Venom, but he's the one who stole the eggs, and he's on his way to the islands to make alliances
betrayed.
with the islands, because Dune specifically, the island who worships Dune specifically said that they want dragon eggs in order to form
Oh.
alliances with them. And Eric ended up with the dagger from Dune somehow. So we know that there are at least 6 missing dragon eggs. We know that he has gone flying south somewhere.
I
But
think
if
that
he
that's
did
what he
turn
did.
Venom, I think it's because he used his precog powers and saw a cure for it, and he's going to cure Zayden and himself.
I think he flew south with the dragon eggs. I think his dragon is like they mentioned, okay, you can either save all of them and give us 6 or you can all die. What's your choice? Like give us a little bit to save everybody or not. And so I think his dragon is willing to do that. Is willing to give you 6 to save everybody at a certain point in that battle because they know the future. I think, and this is how I envisioned him for part of it is in the like Avengers movies, Doctor Strange, where he's like, I went through 800 different things and this is the only way we win.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's what Eric is doing. He's seeing all of the futures and this is the way we win. This is the way everybody ends up happy. And even if it makes me the bad person for a little while, I'm going to be the bad person for a little while and I'm going to take the eggs so that we
The
do win.
question is just, did he figure out a solution to curing Zayden in that process or not? And that's where I'm at with that one. Also, there's a reason why Eric had to show that he was so much better than Dane at like communicating with all of the islands. Like there were so many Easter eggs there that show that like Eric definitely is up to something.
Well, and Eric, I think Eric does know the cure, and I'm going to tell you why. Because he keeps hinting at Violet about Zayden, like the entire time. He's like, even when the love is mentioned with the book, where she had to open the book, and he's like, like Halden would fit. Like he knows about her love life, but he keeps like pushing her, like helping her get Zayden.
Well, I think Dune might be important too, because I'm curious what was in that temple that he needed her to protect. Like, because he specifically tells her to guard that temple and she doesn't, she just dismisses him, but Andarna protects it, and I feel like there was a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could have easily been that like he knew that the solution to defeating Theophene was because of the Temple
A
of Dune.
dagger.
But like Eric is a much bigger character than we think he is right now, and I'm here for it because I'm always here for a prince being a hero.
Well, and I
Yes.
love that he was hiding the fact that he had a signet the entire time and that she figured out that he had been manifesting the entire time, but had been acting like he didn't have a signet.
Here's the reason why I think that Eric did not turn, though, at the end, because the sage in Dreamwalking is constantly saying, "You're going to turn for love." He knows what's going to happen. They have a precog on their side, and I think for balance, Eric has to stay like human
On.
as is.
And that's
Or,
fair.
But I
That's
or
do
why
think it was Eric and Garrick who went to deliver the eggs to Dune, because I think that's where the 2 orange tunics came into play with the quests. The tunics were for Dune, right?
mhm.
And I mean, how big are these dragon eggs? Is one person going to be able to haul all of these eggs?
I don't know. I don't know that it was. I don't know that Garrick went with Eric though, because Eric leaves at the beginning of the battle. Violet sees him flying with his dragon, and she was like, "What is he doing?" That's when he had already stolen the eggs, and he was already on his way to the islands, in my opinion, at that point. Unless he was on his way to the point with, or to like the meeting point, because I like reread it, and it doesn't specify where Zayden and Sigale are when they get trapped in that net. So unless Eric
Mhm.
was heading that way, because I don't know that south is the correct direction for the islands. I feel like it was north, but I'm not 100% sold on that. But so like he either was meeting up with Zayden and Jack Barlow and all of those people, or he was already on his way to the island. So I don't know that Garrick went with him. However, I am pretty confident that the 4 missing riders still at the end of the episode are Zayden, Bodhi, Garrick, and Eric.
I would
all
agree
the
with that.
icks.
There was also that comment in the book somewhere where Riddick was like, Zayden has his trusted circle, his people, but you haven't told anyone. So it makes sense that that delineation had to be made because those are Zayden's peeps. They're sticking by his side. They're his brothers. And then,
But Eric isn't a
Rhiannon.
part of that. Eric's her peep.
No, but
He grew up with her.
I think if Eric didn't turn he utilized the confusion of Xaden going dark
Mhm.
fully to steal the eggs and slip out. And
Yeah.
everyone's going to accuse Xaden of being the one who stole the eggs and slip out, but it was really Eric. And also, there are like 3 or 4 riders they've already confirmed are dead. I bet you one of them was Panchek, and one of them and the other 2 were the other traitors, and Xaden was able to suss out who they were, and he slaughtered them. Because
But
my guess is Xaden is going to be a mole on the other side.
oh yeah. Yeah. He is. Cuz
So,
he's never, like I said, I think love is going to be the key to the cure. Like finding somebody on the other side that the person loves more than the power, and like he was mentioning the whole time, it's not necessarily just the power, but it is the ability to turn off everything, like go unhuman and not have those bad feelings that you don't want. But the love itself is more powerful to you as a person than the ability to turn off that and the power that you're getting. And that is why, like, she said that if she goes back to Dune, because I think the Maven was a priestess of Dune.
Mhm.
And so
mhm.
supposedly that was supposed to be her biggest love ever, right? Because if you become a priest, become a priestess, you're basically foregoing all other loves in life and only loving and serving the god. And so if she chooses to go back into that servitude and that love, it will undo what the Venom had done.
Mhm.
And so I think love is going to be the bottom line there. So I think he's going to hold on to that love for Violet. It is so strong that he is going to be able to be like that mole.
Well, and he does specifically, like, when in our one very small Xaden chapter that we got, not that I'm bitter about that at all, but in
At
the
all.
one
Look at that
small
look.
chapter we got of Xaden's perspective, he does go through and he desecrates all of the wyvern. He kills, everybody, and specifically he says he kills the wyvern. So he left all of the dragon riders and the dragons and the griffins and all of them alive. So it doesn't make sense that he would have killed 4 riders or 3 riders, though, like, it was clear that that was the general consensus on, Brennan's end, is that Xaden was the one doing all of that, because there was like a wall of shadow or something.
Mhm. The Onyx
Um,
Storm.
Mhm.
yes, the Onyx Storm.
But also, like, Brennan there at the end seemed very uncharacteristically against Xaden. Like, because
Well,
up until then, he was okay with Satan, right? But then that last scene felt very much like a
it's clear
turn
that
for
Xaden
me.
has done some bad things in the past 12 hours that got wiped from
Mhm.
Violet's memory. Imogen specifically says, I haven't seen him since yesterday. So Imogen and Violet went. Violet married Xaden. Like, Xaden specifically even tells Sigale, like, we'll let Violet decide. I mean, he says her, but we know it was Violet who was going to figure it out. So Violet came up with some sort of plan that even she doesn't remember. They got married yesterday. And then in the, like, 12 hours since then, Xaden has done some messed up stuff. I'm assuming he killed those riders, and nobody knows why, because he's not going to explain himself to these people. Brennan obviously knows that he's accepted more of that power, and he's not just is it an ASIM?
ASIM.
Yeah. So, like, he's graduated to another level of Venom power. So it makes sense to me that Brennan would be like, what is going on with Xaden? And
But
he was not even necessarily super anti Xaden, but he was specifically like, Violet, you need to tell me where he is right now. And Violet was like,
but
I don't know.
but unhinged theory here. Maybe Brennan in those 12 hours also saw Nolan or
It's
whatever.
possible.
And now he knows that they're both out there, and now he's also trying to find his person.
It's a possibility.
Like, that's my unhinged theory about why he's uncharacteristically, like, more forceful with her than he has been previously.
Well, also, she seems like the number one way to get to Xaden. That
Mhm.
Riddick brings this up too. Now that Xaden is like full dark, as according to all of the writers, the number one way to take Xaden out would be to take Violet out.
Mhm.
It's clear that that won't work, because I kind of got the inference that the bond was severed between her and Xaden, because she went to look
'Cause she
for the
can't
channel,
hear
and it
him.
wasn't just that it was blocked; it was gone.
Mhm.
So either Sigale canceled her bond to Xaden, or Sigale and Taryn canceled their mate bond somehow, are the 2 options that I think are presented there. Either way, that's heart-wrenching. Also, Taryn I'm leaning more towards the mate bond being severed because Andarna specifically says that Taryn needs to sleep through the next cycle. And she was like, why? He was fine 5 minutes ago. But really, I think he lost his mate.
I think Andarna is key there because it was her. Like, how long was she gone? She came right back. She came right back for a reason. And how many times did they say that the Irids are magic? Like, Andarna is magic. She can bend magic to however she wants. Yes.
Well, she can't anymore, but she could.
She can't anymore as a baby.
But the Irids can. Or that we know in the past that they can, and we think it's just as a baby, but we don't know. They are magic. They could be living in a different time loop. Like, it could have been like those 800 years for Andarna sitting in the egg were really like 5 minutes for them or whatever. And
yeah.
So I'm thinking when she left, I thought that there would be some time loop kind of thing where she's coming back sooner than we think she is. And it will have been the amount of time that they wanted to teach her.
Interesting. I definitely was a little let down that she came back. This sounds so like wrong, but like because of how hard I ugly cried when she left and how heart-wrenching that was.
For her just to be back?
Yeah, I thought we were going to get her back in book 4. I knew she was coming back. Like the whole time it was obvious to me that we were going to get her back, but I thought it was going to come in the next book. So her return was a little bit of a miss for me. Not enough for me to be like upset about it, but just like a little twinge of disappointment there.
I have another unhinged theory about this. Because I think because the Irids are magic, I think that there's the ability to give whatever you want to your person. And Andarna has those. I think Andarna can also see some of the future, much like the precog, which is why she knew that she needed to stay at that temple and why she's known some of the things. I think she knew that Violet needed to go through the loss and to realize that she was going to be okay with the loss of her dragon and that she could get through that because she's about to lose Satan and we still need Violet to man up.
I don't know if I believe that Andarna can see the future, but I can see how like it was important for her to feel that loss. But I just personally was excited to see her and Taryn get a little closer in the interim of Andarna being gone. And I thought that that would have been a really good like bonding experience for her and Taryn. And that we got a little bit of that because he like completely opened himself up to her and like she got to see some more of the Dragon Empyrean than any writer before that and stuff like that. But they have such a complicated bond already because he's willing to die for her. And I just wanted them to strengthen a little bit more. Again, I can't really sit here and say that I'm like upset that Andarna's back because I love her and I love her dynamic with Violet. I'm just saying that I thought she would come back in book 4 instead of the end of book 3.
It was super weird for Andarna to come back so soon, which is, I like, Tara, your thought process around the Irids having, like, time moves differently for them, because that would be a really good explanation for that.
100%.
I also think, since the Irids are magic, so next book, I think that we're going to have, the compass is how they find the island of the Irids, and we're going to have sea monsters. How many times have they mentioned, them being scared of the creatures in the deep ocean? There's going to be sea monsters. They're going to use the compass to find the Irids and get that army. And even the cat, I'm like, what would a cat be useful for? Probably hunting rodents or something on a ship, a rusty bucket. Like, there are different things that make me think of the ocean, like the sea. So if we get to the Isle of the Irids, though, the time thing is in play. Well, I have this unhinged theory that no, this is a crazy theory that Xaden is the actual dark one of the series, and that it's a really weird time travel kind of thing because of some of the epigraphs in the earlier books and just how he's talked about, and the way that one of the Venin are described in the earlier books as having like tawny skin, sweet on his breath, and Xaden was described as having sweet, like the whatever that drug was, like on his breath at one point too. So that's like my unhinged theory. And if the Irids can control time, or it works differently for them, that would be a really cool thing.
Well, and that makes a little bit of sense with the compass not really pointing where it should be pointing. And the Irids being able to, this is like the island that disappears in whatever book that was that we read. Like, I think that if they can disappear, like why wouldn't their island be able to disappear, right? And come where they want it to come. And that's why we have a compass that doesn't really like point to where we want it.
I'm so glad that we're talking about the compass because we need to discuss all of the items, all of the gifts. All of them.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
First of all, the slap situation was hilarious.
I laughed.
But I thought they were going to take his hand. I didn't realize that, like, I fully expected them to, like, cut his hand off.
Which one got the slap?
So, Dane.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I had the thought afterward, I was like, "Wait, is he getting slapped because of something he's about to do in the series?"
No, he's
No,
getting slapped for
But
something he did do in the series.
also,
but then what about Cat's boy,
I know
Traeger?
Traeger made me really sad. I knew somebody was gonna die. Like,
Yeah, it's the luck. Like you
yeah,
have good luck
Scylla,
and bad luck.
yeah,
the
and
griffin.
it was wild that she had to thank them for that. But that was insane to me. So Xaden got like a glass box, right? I wonder if the glass box is going to be like he has to put the venom power in the glass box and that will be his cure.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was gonna have to put something of himself in there,
Or like
or, like,
what
his
that
love for
looked like.
Violet, or what. Also didn't know if it was just a symbolic thing too, because glass is so fragile and it's a transparent thing too, which I feel
And we
like
see you.
he's very much going through that right now.
Yeah.
That's
But
yeah.
the compass, I mean, obviously anytime you get a compass that doesn't point north, you think it's like some Pirates of the Caribbean
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
situation going on there. So, um or Spark of the Everflame nonsense
Mhm.
going on there. Definitely the compass has to come back somehow. Uh Broccoli is important because broccoli represents one of my favorite ships of like so as disappointed as I am on where Violet and Xaden are, Rebecca Yarros really did me a favor with all of the side plot romances that we've got brewing in this book, okay? Because we've got Mira and Drake.
Oh, I love
Even
who
it.
though
are
it's a love-hate relationship right there. It's
oh
like a
the
enemies to lovers
it
going
is the
on.
enemies to lovers that we're all excited for, okay? Like
Mhm.
it's gonna happen and I'm pumped. Um, then you've got Dane and Sloane, which I need to be privy to that situation because Sloane's probably going to go through quite a bit of how could I possibly want the guy who's responsible for my brother's death turmoil before something happens
Mhm,
there.
mhm.
But I'm here for it.
Well,
Yes.
she's had a lot of turmoil. She's like, "How can I be friends with the person that, is also responsible for my brother's death? How can I like with Violet? How can I like forgive myself for being the reason Violet in her eyes mom dies? And then now how can I forgive myself if I fall in love with this dude who's also the reason my brother's dead?"
Yeah. I mean, with Violet, she got a little bit of a break because of Liam's letters helped her kind of get
Mhm.
over that.
But she still had to go through it.
Yeah, she did. So Sloane's gonna have quite a lot of character development before she's even in her second year. So
Yeah.
that is like super exciting. And then like I was a little miffed in Iron Flame that we didn't get more Imogen and Garrick. So like the Imogen chapter with like
Uh-huh.
the Garrick situation really did a lot for me, which is
Mhm.
why like I'm sad that he's
I don't
missing now.
yeah,
But
I don't want Garrick to be the one, but he likely is the one.
I like Garrick, but he's still a manho to me, because wasn't he just still sleeping around and Imogen was jealous about it? Like,
he at least
some girl
proclaims
was,
to be
like, leaving
sleeping
his room?
around. You
There was, like,
know,
one line, like, a girl was leaving his room, or he was leaving, like, some girl's room, and Imogen was just, like, jelly.
oh, I don't remember him leaving a girl's room, but I remember like somebody made a crack about how they should like hook up and Imogen makes a lot of comments about how he's a man whore and he always leans into it and tells her like there's a lot of horses in my stable or whatever weird thing he says.
But but what if, unhinged theory, because he does lean into it, he's not as much of a man whore as they're like
That's what I'm
thinking he
saying
is?
is I could
Like he
totally
just
see him
isn't
hamming that up
he just isn't as comfortable in himself to like let it be known that he wants Imogen. Like he's afraid of that rejection.
because he does specifically tell Imogen he can't lose her when he has to carry her and Quinn out of
Mhm. Like you can tell he's in love with Imogen.
yeah. It's
Like and she
definitely
might be jelly, but like we don't know that she's in love with him and he's afraid of that rejection.
which like I'm glad Rebecca Yarros gave us Imogen's POV. It like I know that like Quinn's death doesn't hit as hard as Liam's and like General Sorengale's death hit harder from like a plot perspective too, but like witnessing Quinn's death through Imogen's eyes had me on Liam levels.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
obviously I'm not as emotionally attached to Quinn as I was Liam, but
Yeah.
So
dang.
so
They made it a good one.
I'm gonna point out that it was either me and how fast I was like making this play or something, but it was not really clear whose perspective we were in when I was hearing it. And so it took me that entire chapter to figure out that it was Imogen that I was like in the mind frame of, I felt very much like Violet, like, I don't know who I'm in right now, who I'm dream walking in. And I don't know if that was intentional, but for me, it was not clear until that very last scene in it, where we see Quinn die and where Garrett gets there and tells her, "I cannot lose you, Imogen." And then it's like, "Oh, we were in Imogen's head this whole time."
Mhm.
But
And
that
even when you
definitely is an audiobook thing because like, it says at the beginning of the chapter, like, Imogen,
Yeah.
Rhiannon.
Okay, okay.
So
Because, like, I had a problem trying to figure out POV I was in a lot. But again, it could have said it, and I was just playing it so fast that, like, I didn't
sure.
Yeah.
realize that that was, like, the POV. But okay, I have to talk about one other little love thing slash bigger story that we get through the whole thing that I love, but it's of Violet's mom and dad. And we
Dude,
get
Mhm.
more history of what happened in Violet's life and why she is the way she is, and maybe also future foreshadowing because we got the so when we were in Dune, right? Like we get the back history throughout the book that Violet's dad took her. And Violet was supposed to be, or Violet was, he was kind of molding Violet into something, right? And all through that journey that we had, it was her that was the important part in getting the answers because her dad had molded her into knowing the right answer at the right time. And then we get that Mira was the mom's mold, right? But we see that the dad took her to the goddess to try and cure her. And she has been partly initiated, for lack of a better word, into something
She's been touched.
that we are
Yeah.
trying to figure out what it is.
she's been
I
touched
think
by
that that's
Dune.
I think that's foreshadowing for the future of how she's gonna be
Yeah.
not a cure, but like how she's gonna win.
Yeah.
But we see that whole back and forth between her mom and her dad's sitting here molding her, and her mom's like, "I will never forgive him for what he did to her." And there's something, and I think it is the Dune part
I
because
almost
he made her basically the way that they were gonna win, and her mom never wanted her to go that way.
I think it's a little heartbreaking if we're being real honest, like, the more you think about it, because Violet had this, like, complex, heartbreaking, like, relationship with her mom where her mom didn't show her affection and all of this stuff, and she always felt so secure and safe with her dad, and yet when she was a baby, her dad felt like she needed to be fixed, and her mom didn't. Her mom this
Well,
whole time has been like, "Violet is strong, Violet is more than people see," and, like, and even, like, as she was being like, after the whole torture thing, Violet's mom specifically was like, "You may not feel like you know me, but I know you," and, like, it was just you just, like, see these behind the scene things where her mom did so much for her and
mhm.
loved her so deeply in a way that just, like, was abnormal, you know? And that is just so moving.
And
I I think with the whole temple thing and the father taking Violet to go dedicate her path to Dune, I think that was an act of desperation and love, right?
mhm,
Because there's still I mean, you could look at it as still supporting this theory that either mom or dad was Venin, like an initiate level, maybe an ASIM, but probably an
dad.
initiate level, and it was just an act of desperation to try and,
Do
prevent
we
that from happening.
Dad was from the island of knowledge, right?
Was he
He'd
from
definitely been there
He'd
before.
been
Yeah, he'd
there.
been there studying and research there. I
Yeah.
still think there's no reason that Rebecca Yarros would have pointed out that Mama Sorengale came home from war one day with red eyes if it didn't mean
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Interesting.
So to your point of, like, mom was never like, even as a baby, dad wanted to go fix her. I think I'm agreeing with Sandra on that, that it was not a fix hers and there's something wrong with you, like, I can't be wrong isn't a negative, but I think it was an, I know what my daughter is going to grow up having to deal with and the pain and all of this, that if you know that, like, speaking as a mom, like, I would take Carly anywhere to fix her, right? To, like, make it to where she doesn't have to live through that pain. Not because there's something, like, wrong with Carly that, like, she's bad,
But to
but that
spare
there's
her.
something wrong with Carly as in she is going to have to live her entire life
Yeah.
with pain to the level that, just to function is work.
I agree with
Um
you. I'm not trying to say that I think her dad didn't love her because he definitely did, and he was doing it from a place of panic. I'm just saying I think what's heartbreaking about that is he felt like it was more important to, like, fix her body than to give her autonomy over herself, because had that prophecy not happened, because there was, like, some sort of prophecy
mhm.
where the oracle was like, we can't fully initiate her because the heart that beats for her might go dark or something like that, like, she would have been like promised to the temple, and she would have had to live her whole life there, and she wouldn't have had any choice. And that's what I think is a bummer. Like he, in his panic, he took away some of her autonomy, or he tried to, and that's what I think her mom was like, I don't know that I could ever forgive him for that. That's why I think grandma was like, I will never speak to you for trying to make that happen.
Grandma.
Like,
I
so
also
much.
think mom knew what that mark meant for her, which was that she was going to be a warrior. And mom knows also that she is in so much pain already that this is like even more, she can handle it, but it's even more.
The one couple we didn't touch on that I'm still super here for is Sawyer and Jessenia.
Yes.
Because they're like,
Sawyer.
they're clearly like building in the background. She always checks on him, and he's like learning to sign and all of this stuff.
Are they building, or are they already there? We just haven't
get to
paid
see
that
it.
much attention to him and
He
her
has
in
not
this
made a
book.
move yet. He has not made a
I
move
feel
yet.
like he has
is
not made a
still
move yet.
oohing
I think
and eyeing.
Yeah.
Well,
I
but
think it's
she
clear that
said
she's
we'll
worried for
do that
him.
later or something like that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying I'm here for it, and I'm excited for more on them.
You know, this is gonna sound so bad. Now that Traeger's out of the way, you know who I want to end up with Kat is Eric. I just think that they would be really good together.
I don't. That is not who I want with Kat.
I have wanted them since
or with Eric. Eric's
book
my dude. I don't like Kat enough for Eric.
Okay.
You don't like Kat?
I
Hear
said
me
I
out.
don't like
She was
Kat
like
enough
when
for
she was
Eric.
egging people on and raising their emotions because she could.
I
was
don't like
okay, I
Kat
get
enough
you.
for Eric. Like Eric is up there on my.
Oh, I love Eric, but
My Kat is still down there. I'm still mad at Kat for her Zayden shit.
Okay, hear me out, because this one might be a little unhinged.
I like that
What
you cover
about-
up your face with your book when you were about to say something unhinged.
What about Kat and Halden?
That's who I want Kat with. I want them both to be better rulers through each other.
No, I want Holden to die.
Whoa!
He got
That's a bit
Anna
much.
beheaded, served on a platter at the dinner table. Like
Who?
that scene was crazy.
Wait,
Holden.
who
Anna,
was it
his
though?
personal
His
guard.
bodyguard.
Oh,
His bodyguard, who we all know he brought as like a side, like as a
side piece.
sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't. I think that was probably heartbreaking for him. Like he didn't intentionally get her beheaded, and he was like sick when he saw it. You know, so like.
I don't think Halden is as bad as all of that. I don't like Halden very much.
I do.
But I think Halden might. We did see like a little piece of Halden that I really hoped we'd see more of later. Like maybe we will have like a redemption thing. Because he was kind of adorable when he was egging Zayden on and like trying to touch her hand just to like get Zayden pissed off. I did enjoy that side of Zayden.
I don't know if he was really doing it to piss Zayden
No,
off.
he wasn't,
because he just seems like he's not aware and just thinks that all women fawn after him. The fact that Violet walked in on him doing some other chick
while they were together.
That's how
not just
not
just any chick, a professor.
To professors. Professor Riorson. One of my favorite things of this damn book. I was like, okay, they're in the middle of like signet training and it's just shadows and they're doing things in the shadows in a room full of people. I was like, okay, this is hot.
And their inner dialogue between like them, like I would not be able to keep a straight face. Everybody would be able to tell that I'm like talking dirty to my man over there.
Yes, professor.
In my head, like
hold on, because before we go to Professor Riorson, I need to talk about Halden a little bit more. It cracks me up, Sandra, that you were just so anti his existence, because I think that what he needs is a strong female to come in and
that can mess with his emotions.
Riot his emotions, but also kick his ass, because Kat was trained by Zayden too, so she could kick his ass, and I think that would be kind of fun. That's just all I'm saying.
I think he needs some of his emotions messed with for him to decide that maybe I shouldn't be messing with other people's emotions.
No, I just want his heart to be broken, and if Kat is the person to do that for him, then fine. I just want him to.
I think there's some development for both of them through that. Like,
do we know what? So King Tori and his 3 sons. Do we know what color is their kingdom? Is it red?
I don't know.
Like, is red one of their colors? I'm trying to think of why Kat could have been given a ruby necklace. Like, what makes sense for that? Like, what that would mean.
I mean, red is typically a royal color. I don't remember. I know that they had like dress uniforms and stuff in Fourth Wing, but I don't remember, other than the fact that all of the riders were wearing black. I don't know.
We also know that she is now
next in line.
Next in line.
Well, her sister's next in line.
Next, like not first runner up, but whatever.
She's second
it is,
in
like
line
first
for the
line.
throne. That's where I think it would be interesting for her and Halden to be together. I'm not like sold on it, but I don't want anything to happen to Halden, Sandra, because Eric doesn't want to be king, and I don't want to make him. But also, their dad can't be king anymore.
He would make such a great king.
Okay. And before we move on to Professor Riorson, I have to bring us down a little because we need to talk about one other couple that has been seen in this book that is the hardest scene for me. Well, one of the hardest because, like, deaths. But his mom and her new man and their new little family, which
Whatever.
was like, I was
Good
like,
for
wait,
Violet for poisoning all of them.
I loved, and I had said
Yes.
Sandra before I got to this
Creepy.
scene, like, why are they even handling shit? Because she has to keep come and cleaning it up for them,
Yeah.
right? And then this scene happened, and I'm like, see, like, she is 8 steps ahead of everybody and cleaning it up.
Talia is so sweet. Just so sweet. She just has no idea what's going on. She's like, what did you think your husband was going to do? Or is it all an act? I don't know.
I
She's
don't think
seeming
she's
kind
as
of
sweet as she wants to let on, because, like, who, if they're that sweet, can leave their child for whatever reason, you think?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could see it where she was super young. It sounds like it was a
Contract
Mhm.
contract based on
for
like
her to
her
produce
culture.
an heir.
Like her culture does that. So like I think she was forced into this situation. You can tell she loves Xaden and has like all of these like things. I fully expected her to show up at Ryerson House with her 2 sons, having left her husband to like try and reconnect with Xaden.
Well, who
And I'm
wouldn't leave
heartbroken
their
that it didn't
husband after
happen.
that? Because she was mad. She's like, "How dare you try and poison my son and his
Yeah.
friends? Like, how dare
Yeah.
you?"
She was
And
furious.
the fact that he did it in the fucking chocolate cake that also already holds bad memories for Xaden. Like, I would be
Oh.
so mad as a mom who's trying to make it up to my son and giving him his favorite treat that my husband used that. Like, can't you just use whatever the fuck we just ate? Like, you had to use the one thing that symbolized my love for him, which I think the husband did on purpose, because the husband doesn't want Xaden as her son. He doesn't
Well,
want them together because
yeah.
he has his own children that are supposed to be the most important thing in the world. And I love the fact that Violet caught on to that and went and, like, I have a dragon outside there. I will let the dragon kill your kids. Unpoison
Garrick
my
just
dude.
already ate it.
And that is one of the reasons I love Garrick. He is just so, like, so joyous the whole time. Like, no matter what it is, he's like, oops, I'm dead. Whoopsies.
Whoopsie daisy.
Whoops, I'm Venom. It's fine. No.
No. No.
I think it's
I think that is it, but, like, I don't, like, in my heart of hearts, I really hope that there's some, like, unhinged thing that, like, this character that we don't know for sure that, like, came back, like, it is a 3rd son that we just didn't know that they had or something, like,
Let's just throw a weird Hail Mary out there. Maybe it's Dane.
my new brother. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe it's Dane. I
It
do
could be.
think, speaking of though, I think
I would
Dane
much rather
fully
it be
knew.
Dane.
I think Dane figured out that Xaden was Venom while they were on the islands. There
Oh,
was a
yeah.
moment where he like said to Violet, like, "Are you sure about this?" And she thought he was talking about her plan. He was talking about
Mhm. Her love
Xaden.
for Xaden.
And
Mhm.
she was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Okay." And I think that is gonna bring Dane back into like I expected him and Violet to have like further conversation about it later, but they didn't. But I think he figured it out while they were on the islands. So
I do appreciate Dane's being a little bit, what is it, like, rebranded arc here from, like,
Dane was fine as shit in this book. I was like, is it the somebody I forget where I posted this. I was like, yeah, why was Dane fine as hell in Onyx Storm? They're like, I heard it's because he has daddy issues now. I'm like, that's exactly it. And
he's
he's
broken
so
from that, like,
grumpy too
having
in this book.
to be his dad's, like, perfect person, that he is able to be himself, and himself is a fine piece of
he's learning. He
He
learned from
is
his
learning.
mistakes. He specifically was like, "I don't coddle first years anymore" to Sloane, and like so much is going down here with him. I'm proud of him,
Sorry.
and I loved him in Iron Flame, and he wasn't one of my favorite characters in Iron Flame, and he wasn't
was
one of my
good.
favorite characters in this book. But like he did nothing to make me not love him, and I am like I said, I am here for him and Baby Sloane.
But Dane, like, every time he would mistranslate something and then was just like, "Why did you even bring me if you can speak fluently, Eric?" And Eric's like, "Well, you needed a reason to be here, so I didn't wanna be
In
the
the
thing to get in the
Quest
way."
Squad. I
Yeah,
love that
Quest
line,
Squad.
like, "Well, if I would have told them, you wouldn't have been, like, there would be no reason for you to be here." Which, with us knowing that Eric has, like, the precog powers, like,
Mhm.
there's a reason Zane is there. Like, there was a reason that we
Mhm.
needed Zane, and it wasn't him being able to speak fluently, right? But Eric knows that there's a reason we need Zane, or not
I
Zane, Dane. I'm mixing them. Like we're gonna make a Xaden and Dane like love
I'm here
child
for
here,
it.
and it's
Make
gonna
them
be
the same
Zane.
person. I think the reason that Dane needed to be there is twofold. One, I think he needed to find out that Xaden was Venom, and he did. And I'm pretty confident in that one. Also, we have a moment where Xaden like asks Dane if they rode a lot of horses when they were growing up or whatever, and it like freaked Dane out because normally Xaden doesn't ask about their childhood and tries to act like it doesn't exist. I think Xaden was open to it because he no longer felt like Dane's intentions towards Violet were romantic. I think that was the shift where Dane was no longer hung up on her and was actively interested
Because
in Sloane.
he's
And
into Sloane.
yeah, and Xaden was like, cool, we're bros now, and like
Okay.
things are gonna be okay.
So speaking of Xaden and his moments of like jealousy over Violet and her past, when Halden walks in and right after Eric had said, well, Halden does fit.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, wait, what do you mean Halden does fit as first loves? And then Xaden, she's in her room and Xaden comes in and he's like, did you love him? Like,
Oh my god.
did
I
you
love
love
jealous
him?
Xaden.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
I ate that shit up.
I was like, this might be my toxic trait, but jealousy
you know what?
is such a
I
fun
need a
like
cold shower.
thing to play with.
I mean, the jealousy aside, though, it's these little moments that made this book so masterful to me, too,
Mhm.
because it wasn't just like the mention of Halden being an infantry, which was mentioned in the first book. It wasn't the chocolate cake, which Xaden told Violet was his favorite food in the world in the
It
first
was
book. It's
how
just
it
like
was
all of those.
used.
Yes.
It like just pulled at your heart over and over for good and bad. Like the chocolate cake was bad for like layers of reasons. The fact that the
But the
dad
mom,
used it, the fact that the mom hoarded her chocolate because she knew her son was going to be there, right? For months, they said she's been collecting chocolate because it's not around here very often. And she had been collecting because they had been waiting on her son to come. And she had been planning this cake. And then the fucker used it as a poison.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
all different reasons with this cake that it just like tore you open. Like it tore you open good that she made these efforts for him, but then it tore you open bad because now his like best friend is dying from the fucking chocolate cake.
Well, not to mention how he told Violet how like she fed him chocolate cake on his birthday and then left. And like that's heartbreaking. Like,
well, and that's the reason like the chocolate cake was special. Like
yeah. And
but
I also think like not that I think it's ever okay, and like I could not imagine leaving my child the way she did, but you do have to remember there was like an excerpt where Fen Riorson says like love is like
Yeah.
excluding love for your children, love is unnecessary. So like you
Yeah.
have to imagine how horrible her life was, and that's a classic case for me where it's like if you're in a bad relationship, I don't care, staying for the kids isn't actually a
Better
thing, and
for
like
them.
you should get out. It sucks that she couldn't take Xaden with her, and I believe her that she wanted to desperately wanted to take him, but like she knew
she had a
that
contract saying she was leaving him.
yeah, she
Because
like had
that's
to basically,
yeah.
you
But
know.
then even further in that scene, like we see Violet's mind working in all the little things that her dad taught her and that she picked up on, and that was the reason that she had caught on that they were going to test them. And also just the fact that the mom gets so livid, like she had begged him to have it here so that Xaden would be comfortable, and he's like, I had it here, and like they had their trial here, like what's the problem? And she's like, you're a fucking like asshole, right? So I do agree with you because what you just said there, like she's already left one bad relationship, and now this guy is proving to be the same type of an asshole. Like I can leave you too, like but this time I'm taking the kids because there's not a contract.
I was gonna say,
Right?
well, I wonder if there was. I wonder if there is a contract in place, and that's why she didn't come after him sooner. But
No, I mean
well,
like contract for their like the two little boys.
no, but I'm saying like I wonder if her second marriage also was a contract marriage.
But they seemed like they loved each other. Like because she called him and he called her my love, and like he did this, it seemed like there was more to it than just a contract, but that could be just me.
Well,
But
I mean there are arranged marriages can be turned into love all the time. So,
well,
but
that's what I'm
because
saying.
of
Like
the
it
fact that like
wasn't just a contract.
yeah, because I was gonna say because I feel like it was clear that the contract situation was a specifically that island culture type of thing. I think it makes sense that Fen Riorson, with the little knowledge I have of him, found that appealing. I believe he loved Xaden and only Xaden and didn't give a crap about Talia and probably was terrible to her. But I could see her waiting out her contract with this marriage and dipping and just immediately going back to see
Yeah.
what she could do to be helpful. So,
But
I want Duchess of Tyrrendor, while she's sitting on the chair back in Tyrrendor, I want Talia to bring Simeon and Gaius and go visit their sister-in-law or whatever she is to
I
them.
wanted so badly for Xaden to get to meet them.
I know.
I wanted there to be a situation where they were like, this is the big brother we've always been told about, and like got to see that he's part of their lives even though they didn't get to be part of his. I
I
also
mean,
kind of hope that there was like a situation where Fenn Riorson had like a stash of letters that Talia had written to Xaden that he just never gave him or something.
Mhm.
Like, you know.
Oh, so Violet's going through all of this knowledge. I just love that scene because she was 8 steps ahead of him. And I don't think she would really have let the dragon kill the boys.
No, but she had
But
the
the
threat.
fact that she knew that that was his weakness, that should have won her over, like, them, because they're all about the knowledge. Like, she has the knowledge, dude. Like, that should have ended it. But I do like her threat of, we can appoint a whole new triumvirate. Like, we can do that. And they keep
You'll all be
going.
dead. What are you gonna do?
I do like that a lot. There were a lot of Violet moments where she was strong and she was capable, and it had nothing to do with her body, but it had everything to do with the mind that her dad gave her. And so I do love that because he was, again, I think he yes, I agree with your point about the autonomy. I did not think about that, but I thought about it from the side of he was trying to make her as strong as he possibly could in any way he could. And since he couldn't help her body, he was going to make her mind as strong as possible and give her all of that leverage that she would need later when her body couldn't do. Lots of love in this book, even though it's a book about battles.
yeah, love is definitely key, but how many times has love been likened to, like, love is war too,
Yeah.
Mhm.
type of
Well,
thing.
And there's a fine
And
line between love and hate. Like,
mhm.
indifference is the opposite of love, not hate.
I mean, it was a romantasy book, but somebody online said like Iron Flame was Xaden's love letter to Violet, Onyx Storm was Violet's love letter to Xaden. So like it's really beautiful in that regard. I just hate the fact that like in Iron Flame they were together at the end even though things were dark, and in Onyx Storm they're
They're not.
married but they're
But you
not
know what?
together.
The next book, because she's a dream walker, she's gonna get so strong and be able to do that just whenever she wants. It's going to feel like they aren't apart. She's going to be the only thing that keeps them tethered
I
to
believe you.
humanity.
I think also my biggest issue is Xaden leaving feels like him going back on his promise that there's nowhere on earth that she could go that he wouldn't find her, and that he would not accept any alternate scenario other than that their end game. It feels like he has let that go, and I'm
But
disappointed in it.
but
Well, I don't think he has a choice.
unhinged theory here is we don't know where they are, right? Like,
It's true.
maybe he didn't actually leave because we've seen that the people could hide in the walls and whatever, right? Like, the Venom, when we found out, like, that the Venom had been there the whole time hiding when they
Well, I think they
attacked
were just
That's
within,
only
hiding.
they're not
that's
detectable at a
yeah.
Yeah,
certain
they're
level.
they're just like Jack Barlow was a man in the whole time. Like they
But
have spies
Xaden
in the writers quadrant.
Xaden has, like, it's permanent now, right? Like the red, or sometimes it
Yeah.
shows. It
Yeah,
just
like,
is
he
gonna
has amber
depend.
eyes now.
Well, no, he was full. He had gone full up. He had like veins or something like that were permanent now.
Branching.
You
Yeah.
can't not
I
see him
I
as a
do like what
Venom.
you put up, Sandra, about, like, everybody was putting, like, hideous pictures, and then you put up Damon Salvatore. It's like, he's not hideous now
You
just because he
know,
has
Venom
veins,
are not
guys,
like
come on.
yeah. No, I so the thing is, someone asked in a fan group, "What do Venom look like?" And people were dropping pictures of, like, pale, pasty, old
Maybe
and
when they go
wrinkled under a
full
black
Venom.
cloak. Yeah, and then Damon Salvatore, just his eyes, like the black veins throbbing out, and
Mhm.
red eyes, like looking
Okay,
hot.
so here I've had this unhinged theory since, like, way back in the beginning of this book, right? Because we kept saying, like, there's a give and a take. Okay,
Mhm,
so we know, well, at the time that I thought this, we thought that, the Maven chick was like Violet and
mhm.
had, like, her
Which
powers,
kind of
right? And she kinda does because she has Violet's mom's powers. But
Had. She's dead
we
now, but
okay, whatever. But we had 2 of these that kept predominantly appearing, and we had, like, a part of another, I don't know, earlier in the book or whatever, that said that there has been a lightning wielder and a shadow wielder together, like, one other time in history or whatever, right? Like, I'm not making this up?
mhm.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that those 2, which is now kind of proven wrong, were that one other time. That was my unhinged theory. But do we know what Dad's signet was? Violet's dad's signet?
He didn't have a signet because he was a scribe.
yeah.
I feel like he did, though.
He would have
I
had to
f
bond a dragon.
I feel like he probably did. Or because I think that, like, we have a repeating of history with signets and things, so I think mom and dad are the newest version of the Maven and the guy. I think that there is like a repetition of powers that are happening, and we will find that those two are the powerful Venom for a reason, because we have equally powerful people. But that was my unhinged theory. I don't know. I have to make it make sense now that we know that her power is the same as her mom's. But
Yeah.
because they kept mentioning that we've only had, the lightning and the shadow at the same time one other time. Like, that
Do we
made me
think
think that it was connected to the Venom at this point. That those two went Venom. And now we have a new one.
do we think there's any connection between the 6 original dragons that formed the first Empyrean, right? And so however many centuries later, the dragons are still following that. One of each den is a member of the Empyrean. But also there were these 6 original riders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
there was
because we
in the Temple of Dune, there were the 6 columns. Fire, it was like water, claw, book, whatever the symbols were, sword, shield. Do we think like that means anything
well, that's
with
kind of the
the 6 most
signets.
powerful? Yeah, because Mira is the shield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is the sword? Is
Well,
it just
okay, so you just mentioned the cat dude, because his, like, when they gave him the little kitty cat, the
roughly?
symbol was a claw.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it could be linked to that.
There was also a line in the Onyx Storm that so many like the symbol of each of the countries, the kingdoms,
Mhm.
a claw is like the common part of all of them too. So I do wonder if there's something with that. That's interesting.
Mhm.
One thing that we haven't talked about yet, but we got that answered in this book, was separatist kids having the second signet. And so it was confirmed that Liam also with Farsight had ice. And then we saw in the last chapter with Imogen that she is now like a rock or earth wielder or something because that shield turned
She
into a
was yeah,
stone.
she's a stone
And
wielder,
then
and she let Dane see it.
yeah. And then Bodhi,
Josie's like, "They're getting together."
when asked point blank, Bodhi was like, "Nope."
He said,
Wink,
"I don't have
kinda
one either,
thing.
just like Xaden." So,
They both do.
I don't
Uh-huh.
know. I could see Bodhi not having it, because Xaden does specifically say, like, it's common, but it's not so common that it was weird that I didn't get one. So he was able to hide his. But
But why
that
would
does
Bodhi be the
make
only
me
one out of those that doesn't have it? Like, and why do they all have it? Is it because they were, like,
The
when they got their
children,
marks, it kind of did something and now they have 2?
no, it's
they were
because they get dragons that had bonded, like, their parents or their grandparents. They have direct descendant
Okay.
dragons. That's why Sigale was Xaden's grandfather's dragon, so Xaden got two. So Garrick's dragon was probably like his grandfather's or
So
grandmother's
do
dragon.
do they
mm,
get their, because we also found out that the dragon kind of determines the
Hmm.
signet, right? So do they get their grandparents' signet and theirs?
I
Like
don't
what
think
the
it works that
dragon would
way,
have given
because
them?
the signet is based off of the person, not the dragon. But
yeah.
the dragons are choosing marked ones, like, of descendants of their previous riders in the marked ones, because they want the marked ones to be more powerful than the non-marked ones.
Mm.
So I think that's the thing that I'm real excited for, is we got to get a ton more dragon politics. And
Yeah, we are.
Taryn's letting Violet in, so I think we're going to get a lot more in book 4, because
And
there's a
we
lot going on with the dragons.
do find out that Terran is like one of the most powerful, like even within that. He's like, they all listen to me.
Yeah,
Like,
everybody except for Melgren's dragon.
Do we think Panchek was the only mole or
No,
traitor?
no.
I
No.
think there were
Because they
3 of them,
mentioned
and I think
multiple.
they're the ones that Xaden killed.
Yeah, they mentioned multiple in the books. Like that there are multiple spies.
A lot of people
And
are
it was
convinced that uh, General Atos is one of them, and a lot of people are convinced that Markham's one of them. I don't think so. I think they're just crappy humans, but I think that there are, like, I think that we're going to find out who they were, because I bet you Panchek's one of the dead riders, and then there's 2 others.
who do you think that they are though, Jess?
I don't know. I think they're going to be
I
people
still
I
wanna
don't
believe it's
expect.
I still wanna believe it's Colonel Atos, Dane's dad. Remember that comment Dane had? It's like, "My father's beyond help." I mean, it had kind of a double meaning to me, like, the
Interesting. I could
context
see
that he
it.
said it.
I think Dane has so many secrets. I am so
He
ready.
does!
He, like, because now he's got Imogen's secret. I'm telling you, he knew Xaden was a Venom this whole time. Like, Dane has learned to keep his
Wait,
mouth
what is
shut.
Imogen's secret?
Her
That she
second
has 2
signet.
signets? But that's
Hmm.
not really a secret, probably among the rest of them. Dane's
No,
just
but
on
it's a secret amongst all of the,
Every
like, people. Everyone who's not a marked one, it's a secret for. So I don't know. I'm excited. I'm still wrapping my brain around it a little bit.
I want to
But
read it again. There was just so many things.
I
I
am
really
going
do
to
want to
read it
read
again
it.
because I missed so many things just because I was reading it so fast.
yeah,
But
I think I'm gonna try and wait. 'Cause that's my issue anytime it's an incomplete series is I will find myself rereading and rereading and rereading until I'm burnt out on it. So I'm gonna hold off and try to wait. But I always do a reread before the next book comes out, so I'll just have more to look forward to when. Though we'll see, because Onyx Storm had a lot of info in it.
mhm.
So much.
I'm sure there's stuff that we should talk about that we didn't.
Yeah. So that's a good call out to if you caught on to something that we didn't, or if you have some strong, unhinged opinions, please let us know in the comments because we are here for unhinged opinions.
I mean, that was an interesting take, Jess, about who else you thought were killed at the battle,
I
like
think Jess is
traitors in
right
leadership.
in that it was
Well,
the
I
three that
I
were
assumed it
moles.
was like Quinn because she died, and then I just assumed it was Jack because we didn't hear any more about it. But maybe Jack's gonna be back. I don't know.
Oh no, Jack is okay. Were they
What happened?
calling Jack his brother at some point too?
Yes,
Yeah, it's like the
because
end
the
of the last
Venin
book.
consider the Venin are
Them
like your
brothers.
brother is what like the other initiates under your sage or whatever. But I'm not 100% sure whether or not Jack died. I will say I think that it's different because there were more than 3 riders who died at the battle. So I'm
There
guessing
are
the
just
battle
three who are
ended.
newly dead.
Yeah, the battle ended 12 hours ago. So now they've regrouped, and then Violet was missing, and they like
Oh,
took
Did we
stock of
see
okay. So
everything.
Rhiannon?
you're saying there was that comment about, I think it was a previous book, different levels of Venin can sense
Mhm.
other Venin, and so
Mhm.
maybe Xaden is a level of Venin now that can sense the other Venin in Vizcaya, and that's
Mhm.
why
And I
they were
think he
killed,
ended them.
and that's why he's in trouble and has to be on the run and hiding.
That's
Because
why
nobody else
everyone
knew
thinks
that they
he's
were
full
Venin.
evil is because he's ended 3 or 4 riders. It says it in the book. I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I'm just
So
really not trusting Brennan. I don't really know what's going on with Brennan
yeah,
because
that's
she keeps making an observation about the rune-shaped scar on his hand
well,
that he got when he was dying.
So
well,
it
and
says
that's the other thing that like because he changed a little bit, like not change, but I sensed a change in how he was reacting or acting with Violet that last scene that he was in.
He
Like,
also has amber eyes, doesn't
is
he?
he the villain?
so what the report says that Violet overhears is official numbers are 4 riders, their dragons, and 3 elders murdered in the valley in what we're estimating is the last few hours. And we
Mhm.
still have 5 riders missing, 4 now.
3 elders. That's going to be Markham, Ados.
I
Like
don't think so.
maybe Sandra's right, and then they were moles.
Panchek's definitely one of them, though.
Mhm.
So there were 7 people who were
Who
killed in the last few hours.
who was missing? We said 4 people from our group of like friends were missing,
No,
right?
he says
Garrick.
there were 5 riders total missing, 4 now. So Violet was one of the missing riders.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that
But
the
not
other
necessarily
4,
from their
right? Not
group.
necessarily. It could be anybody that's missing.
So,
Hmm.
yeah,
But
okay.
I think the 4 riders that are missing are Eric, Xaden, Bodhi, and Garrick. It
Hmm.
specifically says that Garrick is one of them, so we know for sure Garrick's one.
Mhm.
And then I'm guessing Xaden is one of them.
Yeah.
But the other 2 are, and I'm like, I'm pretty certain Eric is one of them. I think that, like I said, he used the whole thing as a diversion to skip over to the
Mhm.
islands, and he'll be back before anybody else. But um,
I'm
whether or
with you
not
on that.
Bodhi's one of them is still up in the air for me. But I feel like he were if he weren't missing, he would have been there with Brennan to like find Violet. So that's where I'm at with that. But I don't know for sure.
Who would the other elder be if it was Atos, Markham?
Panchek.
Oh,
Panchek is
Okay.
one of them for sure. But I don't know who the other 2 are. I don't think it would be Atos and Markham.
Okay, so I'm very
Melgren?
who is Panchek? What was his job in the like
He's the commissioner. So
Okay.
uh Atos was the general of Basgiath, but
Mhm.
Panchek was like the commissioner. And I don't know
Is he
where
higher
that
than
falls.
Atos or
I think he
lower?
might have been I think he might have been lower because he was probably below Violet's mom, but he was above Varish, who was like in charge of the college. I don't know for sure though. But we saw Panchek's name several times throughout
Yeah.
the
I just
first
couldn't
3
remember who
books.
he
one?
was. Like he did
He was,
not.
like, so unimportant to us that,
Mhm.
like
Yeah. So I think it's those 3, and then we have like the others that are like the writers.
yeah, maybe.
Mhm.
There was so much.
Mhm.
Which one is bonded to Coda, the dragon?
Melgren.
Is it Melgren?
Oh,
Okay.
yes, I
Mhm.
forgot about Melgren. Maybe
I mean,
he's it.
mysteriously never around. I'm like, why is that?
Well,
Mhm.
he's not around because he can't see the marked ones, so he never knows where he's needed when it comes to that kind of to what they're actually doing. But he showed up at the end of Iron Flame and is the one who, like, granted them
That's a
leniency or
weirdly
whatever.
Like, why
it's a
can't he see
weirdly
them?
specific signet. Yeah, it's a weirdly specific inability to not be able to,
Is it because
see
of their tattoo or
when
their
yeah,
like
their relic.
mark?
I'm like, why is that? So why, because these children have a relic,
They
why does that
And
nullify him being able to
and
Well,
see?
we
remember how
okay.
the relics came to be because all of the children Zayden had that rune stone that Liam's mom made all of the children, all
Mhm.
107 children, and they were holding them during the whole Dragonfire situation. That's what gave them the marks is Dragonfire, but the rune protected them from that. And when the rune protected them from the Dragonfire, I think it also protected them from like
Vision.
precog stuff, maybe. Or at least from
Mm.
Melgren's. Because Melgren was actively the threat at the time. So it would make a lot of sense if Melgren's dragon is the one that burned everybody because his dragon's magic was what the protection room is protecting them from.
I like
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. There's a lot. There's a lot of answers that we're still
There's
missing, but I think
yeah.
it wasn't a disappointing book in that we didn't get the answers. We just got answers and then more questions too.
Yeah, we got a lot of answers. We have a shit ton of more questions. And honestly, there's still the big question of what did Fen Ryerson find out? I'm not believing that it was only that Navarre was hiding the fact that they knew about the Venom and that the Venom were a threat. I feel like there was something bigger that Fen Ryerson knew,
I also
and
think
that's
that her
why.
dad knew.
There's some
And
bigger
there's
conspiracy here
that's
in
why
on the
everybody is
continent.
looking for his journals and stuff. And I don't think we've seen the last of his things that he's left for Violet and knowledge that he's left for Violet.
Yeah,
And
she
I
I
still
think
has
think
the
that
6 books to go through, right?
I
I
think
think
that
Violet's
he
got
knew
to
it too.
visit her grandma.
I can't
I,
wait.
I think that's going to be
And the
a
grandma is
situation.
whose mom?
Her dad's, I
Dad's
believe.
mom? Okay. So also one of the well, I still think he was one of the knowledge people too. I think he grew up in the Knowledge Island
Hmm.
and then became a scribe.
Possible. Though he would have had to be conscripted to be a scribe, so he would have had to be living in Navarre at least.
Well, yeah, but I think he met Lilith
Yeah.
and came and then was conscripted. But I think he was from the Knowledge Island.
There's definitely
I
a
don't
lot of
know.
talks about like how he managed to go to all of those places and do all of that stuff. And you can see that Markham has like resentment because Markham didn't get to go do and see all of that. So
Mhm. Like there's
that was an
something special
interesting.
about him. It's not just that he is a genius. Like I think that there is something else with him. Like he either has a signet and maybe his signet was like the walker, like Garrick, and that's how he did the islands. Like I think that there's something more that we will find out about her dad that is the reason he could do what he did because there's something special about him being able to gather that knowledge from every place and everyone trusting him, even though it was hard for her to get them to trust her,
I
right?
mean, and do we still believe that he just his heart gave out
No. Like
and
I
that's how
think
he died?
he was murdered.
You think he was murdered?
Uh-huh.
Or maybe he
I'm
turned
wondering
venom
if
or
he's
something?
actually dead.
Really? I mean, he might
I
be.
I I don't think that he would have disappeared if he wasn't actually dead. Like I don't think
I
he's where Zayden's
I
mom is, like that he
I
could just like
hope.
walk away from her and be like, Peace, shit's gonna happen.
I
You're
mean,
going to
Brennan did
die
it,
8 times."
but
Brennan, yeah.
I hope he's dead purely for her mom because the whole I
Ooh.
also get to see him again soon thing like
I
really
That's
got
also
true.
me.
hope he's
She does
dead.
say that.
I also hope he's dead, not purely for her mom, but also because if he shows back up and he let Violet and Mira and Brennan go through all of this alone, but he
Wait a minute.
believed Brennan was dead, I get it. But still, like if he let them go at this alone,
What if Mama had to kill Dad? Because she had one of those alloy daggers. Was it
Ooh,
like a
and he
dagger to
was
the
a
heart?
venom.
Yeah. and he, like, just could not fake it anymore or
And
let or control it any longer.
maybe he was trying to look for the cure, and that's why he got all of those islands.
Just
He was
desperate.
searching
That's
for it,
why
and
he was researching the Irids so much.
we're gonna figure it out. He figured it out at the end, and then he gave up when he figured it out, and Mom killed him.
Ugh, that
It
would
was,
be
like, too late.
horrible.
Oh,
That'd
man.
be
But
really
no, I
sad.
don't think it was too late for him. Like I think he
There is a
probably
point of
once
no return.
he found the cure, like I think he has a signet too or something. Maybe he got a signet when he turned Venom, but I think he knew. Like I think he could foresee the future too, and that's why he knew that there was going to be a need too. Maybe he knew that Violet's heart was going to be Zayden, and she was going to need the cure. And
What
so
if the
he
other
wasn't looking
Venom
for the cure for himself, but he was looking for the cure for him, and Mom had to kill him.
what
What
if
were
the
you
other
gonna say?
Venom that Xaden, like, referred to as
His
his new
dad?
brother? No, what if it's Brennan?
Well, I think the powerful Venom is her dad.
That would suck. I also think it could be Takaris or whatever his name is.
Hiding too, like because he's been seen multiple
Yeah,
times, right?
I wonder if, like, you get to a certain level of Venom and you can, like, hide your appearance. I wonder if he, like, because he became king and his city is the only city still standing among the, like, horde of Venons, and, like, I could see it being him,
Well,
maybe.
because we do have like lots of mentions of first in line, second in line of that specific throne.
Mhm.
Well,
Um,
there's also a reason that Eric was detaching himself like, went through so much trouble to not be found by his family, like, wanted to stay away from them too.
well, that's
Well, he was
Tori.
mad at them for
Oh, Tori, yeah.
yeah, he was mad at them for
Okay,
hiding the Venom situation.
so now that I've said this, I'm gonna dive further into. I think that the dad is the big villain
Okay.
because he was. If we go to the part where he can hide himself at a certain level, but maybe once you pass that level, you can no longer hide yourself. Maybe that's why he left. His heart gave out. His love, like he couldn't hold on to that love anymore as he's finding the cure. And he finally figured it out and his heart gave out. And now he's
Mm.
the big
Yeah,
bad
that is an
villain.
interesting way of saying someone died, their heart gave out.
Mhm.
Like, and his heart turned.
So many theories, and the only person who knows is Rebecca.
If she even knows, like, because
She does.
Oh,
The
she
entire
does?
series is
She's
plotted out,
okay.
so she knows everything that's gonna happen.
Okay,
She's
Rebecca, I'm gonna need to
She's
see those
Eric.
plot lines,
She's
okay?
Pregog.
Please.
she pulled an Eric and figured it out.
I'm gonna
So
need to see those.
the only people that know what's about to happen are Rebecca and Eric.
I have one last bonkers thing to bring up. We knew that this one's gonna be a long one, so buckle up. How many times did they mention that Violet was dizzy? And do we think it really was the heat of the islands? Because the
No.
girl was
No,
dizzy
no.
the whole
Okay.
book.
Okay,
And
so
she had access to her magic. Something about her, specifically, I think it was Andarna, gave her the ability to access her magic more than everybody else.
okay, but unhinged here. Because
Regular hinged.
yeah. No, it's like the other way.
Okay.
It's real world,
Reverse
right?
hinge.
Real world. I wonder if that is her building in some of the true symptoms of her illness into
I
Violet.
I like fleshing out her chronic illness or whatever you
Mhm.
wanna call it. I do like that, but I also don't remember her being this dizzy all the time in the previous
But
books.
she also
Yeah.
didn't have to do as much that would set off her pain
No,
as much.
maybe it's like a growth symptom too, like it's just further exhausting her. I don't know.
To be fair, if that was going to be the case, then it would have set off when she was like running with Imogen and lifting all of those weights and training with
Mhm.
Rhiannon and all of the
I
physical
just don't
exertion she was
remember
doing.
if that
Yeah.
happened.
I don't think that happened. So I don't think that is the situation. I think it wholeheartedly has something to do with her magic. And
And
the
Darna,
thing is the
vulnerable
Irids
state.
talk about what Andarna what Andarna gave Violet was more dangerous than Terran's lightning. And dreamwalking does not feel that dangerous to me. So I
I
think,
think she's gonna have more signets. I think
Xaden,
Andarna gave her the ability to pick up even more signets.
that would be wild.
Andarna can, like, shift and do different things, and she is magic herself. I think Andarna gave her a part of herself.
That
So
would be wild.
she is, like, magic herself, and she can pick up different pieces.
I do think that Andarna gave her magic, and so like her dream walking isn't linked to Andarna because she was still able to dream walk after Andarna severed the link. I don't know what that necessarily means regarding like more signets, but I do think that the level of magic that Violet got from Andarna is more dangerous because it gave her like the ability to do magic when other people can't, and it gave her like, I mean, like,
The
because you
ability
could
to
say that the
talk to
dream
them.
walking is actually more like nightmare walking, and so she is going to be privy to everybody's worst fears and weaknesses. So like that is a dangerous weapon to like have.
Wield.
Do we think it's just simple dream walking though, or do we think she just hasn't fully developed it yet?
That's what I'm saying, is I feel like there has to be more to it.
Because she could change it too.
She was in Zayden's head when he was wide awake and they were having sex on the throne in the last
Well,
book.
And
but he made that happen. I think they made that happen together
I
because of
think
their
their
bond.
bond like
but
Because
heightened
he
it,
sends
but
her similar things all the time. Like
so
he did
didn't
that when she first wielded lightning, and he was like, "Why are you so far away?" And she was like, "I'm training with Carr, but I'm having a hard time manifesting my lightning." And he like sent her his memories. I think that that was just a pure bond thing. I think if we're going to get more from that, it needs to be someone other than Zayden that it happens with.
well, she did do more than Zayden. Right? She walked into somebody else's dream.
it
Yes,
was Marin.
yes, but she didn't walk into Marin's head while Marin was awake. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's like that needs to happen. Like if that is the case, that's different.
Didn't she change stuff in the dreams though? Which is not necessarily like just
She
dream
could touch.
walking. Like it is I can actually make this dream what I want it to be. Like control the dream. Like at the last time, like I think she like changed it a little bit. So I think
Yeah.
it's not just dream walking, it is dream changing too. Like nightmares. Like she can I think she
Right.
will end up being able to be like, okay, you're sleeping. I'm gonna throw in whatever nightmare I want to at you.
I'm
I gotta see
curious.
this next book.
Yeah. I'm curious if like the things she changes in the dreams are also reality. Like if she killed somebody in their dream, would that kill them in real life? Because that would be more dangerous.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. And
But
that's where I'm like, I need more information. But I know that it has to be more than just the Dreamwalker thing because
I
that's not dangerous at all. Like
I also agree with you with like the power thing because she was able to talk to the dragons where nobody else did and things like that.
and she was able to use her lightning. Riddick
Mhm.
like freaked out and was like, "You're using your lightning," and she was like, "No, it's a coincidence." And like when she was fighting in Dune, she was able to wield lightning, and they were like, "How did you do that?" And she was like, "It was just a coincidence." And they were like,
It's
A
okay,
lot
Violet.
of coincidences happening here.
"I thought you were
Okay?
the smart one."
It's a quinky dink.
So
But
yeah.
yeah, I think I love
Speaking
this
of
book.
though, I'm a huge fan. One moment we didn't really talk about that I loved was Andarna putting that giant leopard cat in her mouth
Yes. Yes.
And
when
she's
she was
like, I'm
like,
Shira or
drooling.
Shora.
she was like, "Look, we're teaching her that she can't eat her allies, but if we're not allies, then she can go to town on your big cats, and I'm not going to
Look,
stop her." And it was fun.
and Darna's personality in this book. It's everything.
I
So
like that
sassy.
part where she like just tells her, I'm about to start drooling.
Yeah.
She was the
And,
best.
oh, I love when I sent this to Sandra, but like everything, she's like, "Ooh, that looks like it might be tasty," and it's like a dolphin or a cat or like even the little kitty cat. She's like, hmm, I'm hungry."
It is funny that Mira got the wine and Drake got the cat. So now they're the just the cat and wine drinking cat couple.
They're the cat ladies.
Yeah. Together. Yep. I
I
can't
loved
wait till the
how
next
Mira
book,
was
guys.
like, "Why would you name her Broccoli?" And he was like, "To annoy you." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it."
Why not carrot? Yeah.
The best. I'm here for it. Obviously, we're all looking forward to book 4. Devoured book 3 in less than 3 days, so be good. If we got, like you said though, Rebecca needs to take some time. People have talked about like she had to kind of almost rush through Iron Flame, and Iron Flame is my favorite of the 3 personally, but you can tell that she was more methodical with Onyx Storm, so not rushing her is going to pan out for us.
Mhm.
So it's important to
But if
remember.
you could do it faster, but make it the best possible too, okay, let's
All I know is the next book it has to be crazy. Like this is the final book to set up everything, get
do
it,
we
all
have
the
a
pieces
title?
into play. No.
We
What
don't
do we
have
think it would be?
Yeah, that's what
nothing.
I was
I feel like every title has just been so freaking perfect for what happens in the book.
I mean,
But
it's going to be 2
I am
words.
so sure that the next book is going to be at sea. And you had Calixta saying, "We do not accept those who do not adjust their sails in a storm," when they're picking their gifts.
So maybe it's going to be like
I mean,
violent tides or something. Maybe
the
violence will be
colors
in the
too.
word.
Have you seen the color gradients for the covers
Yeah.
when they've been lining up all the books vertically? How it goes from like golden to like the orange flame to the
to black and
black to
gray.
silverish.
Also, these are runes on the cover.
Yes,
Don't know what they are, but
but they'd be changing
yeah.
each time, which is such a cool touch. I want like all the extra books in the series. Like I want the books that they talk about that they're studying in class, the Book of Brennan.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
all of it. I want all of the extra little books.
I want all of her notes to Xaden and his notes to her. Like, let's just make a little journal of those.
The letters. Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm a sucker for a good love letter, and that was why I think Iron Flame was such a big deal for me. Is I loved, like, I get that Violet wrote him letters, but like she stole his idea, so the letters were like a big surprise in Iron Flame, and I loved that. But I need more than some excerpts, Rebecca. Like maybe for a Christmas special, you could like do just a little novella of like love letters from Violet and Xaden. Like,
or for Valentine's Day that's coming up next week. We know you've already written these. Like,
surprise release. No, I want her to like bask in the glory of the Onyx Storm release, but then like, you know, just give us some stuff.
Well, and okay, so I saw we're gonna get a Fourth Wing TV series, right? And she started talking about it a little bit. I don't know when it's gonna be released. I did not go that far because I'm not a good waiter, so I have not looked.
All I know is Amazon has signed for the rights to all 5 books, the TV rights for all 5 of them.
And I don't like. I'm really waiting on casting too because I want to know if
I just hope they do it justice.
We all know that we're going to be disappointed, and I've accepted that.
I don't know, because Rebecca, when she was talking about the script, she said she was not disappointed. And I feel like the person who wrote that. No, because she said like a lot of times you are disappointed, right?
Yeah. They're gonna have to have a huge budget.
It's not exactly what you would have wanted it to be, or how you wrote it, or whatever. And she said, and let me tell you guys, I was kicking my feet the entire time. Not at all disappointed.
Well, she also has the book plot. I was going to say whole thing.
Rebecca will feel differently than the fandom will, and I'm like pretty certain about that. So I'm glad that if somebody's going to be happy about it, it's her, because it was her world and like
her baby.
She should be the one who's excited about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not going to be disappointed, and I've accepted that.
How many times as a fandom have we been let down too? Even all the Sarah J. Maas drama with ACOTAR, and now that the guy, you know, who co-wrote on Outlander is out and not doing that anymore. It's just so much drama all the time. So it's like
there's always drama on those.
Hope for the best. Yeah. I don't know. Creative differences, I guess.
And I mean,
budget.
I don't love what Amazon has done with their other books to TV adaptations. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject. So
hope for the best. Expect the worst.
I'm prepared to be disappointed, but I'll still watch it. So
yeah,
good on Amazon, I guess.
We'll do a podcast about that, about the TV show. Dedicated one. All right. Any final words on Onyx Storm? No title guesses for the next book?
Violet,
we know it's going to be something gray or silver or stone or something.
Or blue, because gray goes into blue really easily.
It could be like silver violence or something like that. That would be cool.
Ooh. I like that. Tara's thinking.
Well, I'm like looking at my books over there and looking at like the color gradients and seeing if there were any like patterns, because we went from Fourth Wing to Iron, and Iron is usually like a blackish color, right? And then we went from that to Onyx, which is even darker black. So it could be like a midnight or like we could go the other direction. And it keeps getting darker in color.
We also have a sun peeping out on these that aren't peeping out on the other books. The covers I have anyway. All I see on Fourth Wing are like clouds, Iron Flame. There's like a moon or just a shadow, maybe like an eclipse or something coming out. And then this one has the sun. So maybe it's something to do with sky.
I don't know that the colors make a whole lot of difference. Because like the only difference in the Fourth Wing versions are the color of the background. I mean, obviously in the content, but... So I think it's more to do with the pictures.
I feel like an idiot, but I never realized that these scratches were like intentional, because I was talking about this with Frankie on Instagram. She's like, does anyone else have scratches in the lower right corner of the thing? And I like took a picture and sent it to her. It's the exact same scratches on her cover. I'm like, oh, that was like planned. That gives it a little bit of foreboding, right? I'm like, what's scratching? Is it venom? Is it the dragon scratches?
Or is it the little kitty cat that got a hold of your book?
Was it little broccoli?
Sure.
Little broccoli scratches.
All right, we're clowning now. Well. Did we get everything we needed to off our chest? No.
I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's
that's
more.
That's all I can think of right now. So
now I would just want to dive into everyone's theories. So 2027, 2028, circle back here, talk about the next episode of this book series.
That feels like so long from here.
Yeah,
Like,
hell, I'm gonna be in my 40s.
I
Yay.
mean, it always sounds like a long time from now, and then I realize that we're in 2025, which doesn't feel like a real year.
No,
And I'm
we're
like,
almost in
I guess
February.
it's not that
No.
far.
And
I
you
don't
know what?
know.
There are plenty of books to read in the meantime, plenty of shows to catch up on.
plenty
We
of
got
time to forget what happened and reread
Yeah.
them.
Just be like Tara, just continuously not do rereads and just keep asking who
So-
people are.
So
Yeah,
many
I
people
felt
didn't
so
do
dumb
rereads.
because I was like, who is this person and
Jess,
why?
Tara texted me. She's like, "Wait, how did Mama Sorengale die?" It's like,
Well, I remembered she died, but I couldn't
no.
remember how.
Well,
I
I had a
loved
lot
it,
of
I loved
people
it.
ask me, because like several people didn't reread, and I was like, I did. So if you have questions, you can reach out to me. Like, people forgot what Nolan did. They're like, why does she hate Nolan? And I was like, well, because he helped
Oh.
torture her.
Yeah.
Like,
And he
Aw.
saved Jack
and he
from
saved
her
Jack,
trying
yeah.
to kill Jack. She was like, I
Mhm.
did this on purpose, dude.
And
Ooh, maybe he was one of the elders who died.
ooh,
Maybe-
what if it's like Llewellyn?
Okay, I thought Llewellyn was a place at first. If you open up the map, there's a place on here called
Yeah.
Llewellyn.
Yeah, and
What
then
is
the-
going on with Llewellyn?
The Duke of, I'm assuming not the Duke, but like so there's also a person named Llewellyn, and he was the one who was the Duke of Tyrrendor before they reinstated Xaden. And so whenever Xaden didn't want to deal with being on the council, he was like, Llewellyn was doing fine, so he's gonna just take my place. And Llewellyn was
Oh.
the one who told Violet, like, it goes Tyrrendor, his needs, then your needs. Well,
Okay.
Tyrrendor's needs, his needs, your guys' needs as a couple, and then your needs is what he told her.
So
their
Llewellyn is an
priorities should be.
actual person and a place on the map.
Correct.
Yeah, because he's the Duke of Llewellyn.
I don't know that he's the Duke, because I think there's only one Duke per province, but he's like a colonel or something.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
he's the Duke of Llewellyn.
I'll believe you. I don't know.
Because Llewellyn's like its own little province, and it, like, while he was ruling over Tyrrendor, it became like with Tyrrendor.
Ooh,
And
what
then
if in the
in like
next
because I have my little cheat sheet of people pulled up, and it said in public notice 628.86, it transferred the power to represent Tyrrendor from the House of Riorson to the House of Llewellyn.
Right. But that meant that they moved Tyrrendor's capital from
Mhm.
Eurasia to Llewellyn. I guess his name is Lyndal.
Like his official name, because
But now I'm reading that that's the guy who fostered.
who fostered Bodhi and
But I thought those were two different people.
How do we get off on this tangent? Nolan?
Because you asked
You.
who he was.
Oh, Elder. Yeah. Okay, sorry. My bad. Sorry.
so
I don't
Duke
know.
Lyndal is the one who fostered them.
There's a lot
And
of
he is the one who rules Tyrvain in Tyrrendor, according
Yeah.
to my little cheat sheet here.
So Llewellyn is somebody else. There's
Yeah,
a lot
he's
of
a-
L names.
He's a different
Sarah's-
duke, but like he apparently was good with the council when Fen got taken out, and he was
Yeah.
given both powers of
And then
Llewellyn and Tyrrendor.
Yeah, and then they gave Tyrrendor back to Xaden
Mm-hmm.
at
And
the
took it away
beginning of
from him.
Onyx Storm.
So
Which
he
is
could be
hilarious
an elder.
because he didn't want it, but
Mm-mm. Okay.
because that could be interesting. Because if Llewellyn was like telling Violet like she has to let him prioritize Tyrrendor over her and all of this stuff, like he could have been driving a wedge between Xaden and Violet to get Xaden to turn more.
Mhm.
So I could see him being a bad guy and having that be kind of a shock, but I don't know.
We shall see. There is going to be so much in the next book.
Yeah.
Because if the last book is, final battle level of epic fantasy and then happily ever after, there's just going to be so much shit happening.
Unless she doesn't give us a happily ever after.
Don't say that.
I'm gonna make a promise now to read all of her contemporary stuff so that I get more of a feel for her
Okay.
arcs, her
Let
story
us
arcs here.
Let us know.
What can I expect? So, okay.
Are
I'm
you
sure
a
that you'll
believer
enjoy
in
it.
HEAs?
Yeah. I'm sure that you'll enjoy them, and like I'm interested in them because Fourth Wing reads as a contemporary romance with fantasy. And that's something that I've noticed. A lot of people think, like, a lot of the people who are like, oh, she has bad writing or whatever, like all of those negative people, they literally just don't understand that she writes as a contemporary romance novelist. And that's just a different vibe than a standard fantasy novel. That doesn't mean that she's a bad writer. She just has a
Yeah.
different tone than we're used to. But that makes it more accessible for contemporary readers to come into fantasy. So it's a good, like, gateway book.
This isn't medieval fantasy. It is
Right.
more modern. And I think
Mhm.
that's where people are setting themselves up to fail with
Yep.
how they read it. Yep. So, okay. Over 2 hours now. Tara, you want to do the sign off?
Thanks for hanging in with us this far, guys.
If you're still
It's
here, we
so
appreciate
If
you.
you're
fun.
still here, all of our unhinged theories, yes, great. I love that you both have. Sorry, I'm off again. But Beth Sky stuff on, and I'm not.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
just in my little white sweater. Sorry, I don't have the gear like they do. But this book had so much. So thank you for listening to our 2-hour episode on Onyx Storm. I'm sure we missed stuff because there was so much in here. So feel free to leave your unhinged theories, who you think, what we got wrong, what you think
What
we
we
got
got right.
wrong, what we
Just
got
don't be
right.
snotty.
Yeah,
Okay.
be
Let's be nice
nice.
about it.
We are all here for enjoyment, okay? We are all a little joyous at the reading of this book that just came out last Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
Tuesday? Oh yeah. Tuesday? Whew.
And let's give love to Rebecca too.
And yes, lots of love to Rebecca because I think she did an amazing job of trying to represent everybody in her books. Like Jesse said a couple of times, it's a great gateway book. It's got your contemporary, but also your fantasy. So
Also, there's just so much shit going on in the world. It was really,
love,
really
guys.
nice to just be completely sucked into this world and not think about anything else. And
Let's
just be with
give
these
love.
characters for a while. Yeah. So thanks for listening. And until next time, maybe we'll pop on social media and see what we're talking about next because I have no idea.
I
I've
don't
not
know
sat down
either.
to plan out 2025 yet. So cool. Thanks
What
for
is time?
listening. Yeah, exactly. Jess, thank you for being on again. And we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.